listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast by Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb, Dr. Frederick J. Long, Dr. Mario Melendez, Dr. Jennifer Noonan, and J. M. Smith. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to Proof Text. I'm Michael Halcomb. I'm here with J. M. Smith, the Disciple Dojo himself. Or well, I guess you're not the dojo. Are you?
I'd be the sensei, the sensei in the
that,
dojo.
the
Jesus
sensei
is the sensei, so I'd be the under the sensei.
The dojo is like the building, right?
Yeah, dojo is a training hall where you go to train and learn.
Got you. Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, I got my wires mixed up there. The sensei himself. Yeah. So this is 10 questions on the Proof Text podcast. What we do is interrogate scripture, and we have some fun doing it. It's not always easy, right? Sometimes like we're looking at these verses and maybe wrestling to come up with some questions. But really that's what we have to do as a pastor and as a Bible scholar when I'm writing a sermon or prepping to write a sermon or write a book or a commentary, whatever. This is what I do. I sit there and I try to milk every verse for all the observations and questions that I can get out of it. So that's what we're doing here. We're trying to model that, show you what we do as Bible interpreters. So I got a verse here today. If you're watching, then you'll be able to see it on the screen. If you're just listening, then we'll read it out. This one is a really popular one, Romans 8:28. And JM, I know you've heard this verse before.
Mm-hmm.
It goes like this. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. Well, this has got a lot of good stuff in it. So you want to lead or you want me to take the lead on this one?
Why don't you kick this one off? I think I led last one, so we'll.
All right. Sounds
trade
good.
off here.
Let's see. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. So just an initial question, does God not work for the good of those who do not love him? Is the converse true? Yeah. That's my first question.
My question would be I always look at other how the various translations handle it.
Okay.
Instead of just one English. And I'm noticing that some translations say, we know that all things work together. That's New King James and King James. And then the NIV, we know that in all things God works. So is it all things work? Is it in all things God works? Or is it God works all things together? There's some leeway in how it's translated, it looks like. So I would want to know what is, I'd want to look at the Greek and really kind of, I mean, it's misleading, but I'd say I'd want to know what is the most woodenly literal reading of the Greek text, and then what are the acceptable ways that can be translated into English.
It's hard not to try to offer response to that, but I'll resist. So it says, who have been called according to his purpose. I mean, what is his purpose? That seems like a very vanilla term, called according to his purpose. What purpose? Mm-hmm. What is that purpose? Yeah, that's my second one.
My second one would be, who is we? We know. Does Paul and the apostles know? Is Paul just using a plural of majesty here? Or is it something that the church in Rome, he takes for granted that they know as well?
Very good. What about this bit? My third question. Um, those who have been called according to his purpose. I have several spin-off questions of this, but the immediate one is, does this imply that some are not called according to his purpose? That
Hmm.
only some are called according to his purpose, but not others.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I would want to piggyback on that and see the obviously the following verses people variously interpret based on their view of whether God does in fact call everyone or just certain ones. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd want to read this. I'd want to know, how does this fit into what he's about to say.
Yes. I also have a question about just this word, those who have been called. Okay, well, what does called mean? Like, uh, when were they called? What was the criteria for being called? What did the calling look and sound like? Like, what is calling?
Hmm.
Um, and what is the manner in which calling is done or occurs? That seems like a very loaded term to me. Called. In is that does it carry the same connotation the way people try to use it today? Like, oh, God's calling me to do this or this or this. You know what? I hear people saying all the time, God's calling me to do this and this. I believe God's calling me here or there. I've never once in 20 plus years of being a Christian heard someone say, you know, I believe God has called me to do A, B, or C, or to go to A, B, or C. God has called me there according to his purpose. Like
Hmm.
I've heard the called bit, but I've never heard anyone attach according to his purpose onto it. And I'm just going on a tangent here. Like a lot of times when I hear people talk about calling, it seems very self-serving and very self-justifying and
Hmm.
more according to their own desires and purposes, which isn't always a bad thing. But have we read verses like this and just forgot about the according to his purpose portion?
Hmm.
So that was a long-winded thing, but yeah.
That's all right. Some questions are longer and require unpacking. I'm gonna piggyback twice in a row then, because your
Okay.
question makes me ask not just what does calling mean kind of overall, but in this passage, is those who are called, is called synonymous with saved? Is he using called to describe people who are saved? Or, like you said, is this some other type of calling that he may be talking about?
Hmm. This my last question then says God works for the good and this is agathon, the good. What is the good? Like how in the world do we define the good? Because it seems like there are as many definitions of what is good to somebody as there are somebody's, right? So is there an objective definition of what good is? What is the good?
Hmm. You stole my question, you thief.
Oh man, sorry.
That's what I was going to ask, because that's huge. That is huge.
It
Well, I think
is.
it's because I just got done teaching through Ecclesiastes, and Tov is used throughout the book with so many nuances. Good,
Hmm.
good, good, better. It's better than this is. So yeah, that was what I was keying in on. Is yeah, great question. Um, my final
Hmm.
question, I would want to know. I'd want to ask. Um, the idea of like, which on the screen, unless we got the NIV pulled up on the screen, God works, or does God, other translations say works together. So what is that verb? What's a better translation? Works all things, or works together all things, coordinates all things? Does God bring about good, or does God turn bad into good, or is it a little bit of both? Yeah, I would want to know what's up with. I'd kind of want to do maybe a word study on synerge, I believe. Yeah, that's the verb that's pulling up. So, yep, that'd be my final question.
Can I cheat and throw a bonus question?
Bonus question.
I mean, this first one, Udamin, so it's really 11 questions this episode. I can't get away from this verse by asking the epistemological question, like, how do we know? Like, you're just assuming we know that in all things. Well, how do we know? I'm very intrigued by that epistemological statement that Paul is throwing our direction, and we know, like, he just assumes it. Okay, so my question, Paul, how do we know? Like, how do you know? How do you know this? Yeah, what grounds do you have for making such an epistemological statement? Dude, there's a lot here. This is theologically just packed, stuff to the gills kind of, verse. I mean, all verses are, but there is a lot going on here. We have to do with epistemology and God working, and what is the good, and what is calling, and what is his purpose. I mean, lots of big real life theological questions here.
Yeah, Romans 8's definitely one of the mountaintops of Romans for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, we could spend a lot of time on the very next verse. Maybe we'll do that in another episode, but that's
to be continued.
Yeah, to be continued. So, well, hey everybody, thanks for watching. Head over to Disciple Dojo's website and YouTube page and check out the Grown Ups Table Ministry that JM leads on Facebook, and check out glossahouse.com. Yeah, and like, subscribe, share the podcast, whatever you're comfortable doing there. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and have fun studying the scriptures next time you crack them open. Until then, I hope that helps.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.